And a lot more politics coming up, because I'm bringing you now the final part of my conversation with the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin. In this part, he speaks about why he thinks that the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, who you just heard speaking, should be sacked. Also, he speaks about his thought on the NPP administration a year on.
Well, it's been shocking, you know. I expected a lot from Nana, having practiced in Accra from '82 till I joined politics, and having seen him perform as a private legal practitioner with very high reputation, then getting very close to him when he was in Parliament in 1997. I was chairing the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, and he was my ranking member. So we worked together, you know. He also chaired a committee that I chaired before, the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, and I was a member of that committee, okay? And we used to work together until 2000, when we lost the election. He was appointed by His Excellency President Akufo as the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. And I openly went to him, congratulated him, and gave him a piece of advice. I'm sure on hindsight, he would have realized that my advice was the correct advice. So we've been together for some time, and I estimated his capacity, and particularly in leadership, to have been higher than what I'm experiencing. Let me tell you one, because he came from the CPP background, and in fact he attended the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute in Winneba. Okay. And he was a very strong CPP member until the 1966 coup. His father was on the other side, and so I'm not surprised that he made a U-turn, and he's now a dying wool MPP member. I'm not surprised, but at least he had the experience of the leadership of President Nkrumah. And so I wasn't surprised when he was saying that he was in a hurry, because Kwame Nkrumah was in a hurry. Okay?
But his performance, in your perspective, has fallen short of your expectations.
He's been using some of those sound bites of Kwame Nkrumah. And so I expected a lot from him, but the first shocking thing was the complete abandonment of the agenda of nationhood. You see, until we get Ghana to be one, and for us to believe that we belong to the same country and we are equal, okay, equal in the sense of humanity, and that we either flow together or sing together, you'll be having a serious challenge.
What has he done in that regard?
What he's done,
has fallen short of your expectation.
The former president, JM, was said to have been running, and I was one of those who repeated that statement, a friends and family government.
Okay.
What Nana is running today is I, me, and myself government. It's not just friends and family. It's too over-bloated with his, not just family, his ethnic group. And everybody is crying foul. He's not listening to it. And so, if you don't make us see each other as belonging to the whole country called Ghana, then you have a serious challenge, because the cooperation that you'll be expecting from others, the contribution that you'll be expecting from others will not be forthcoming.
But you just indicated that when you need to surround yourself with people who have got the competencies, people who can speak the truth to you. So that
would be an insult, that it is only people from his family or from his ethnic group that have the competence or can speak the truth.
What if he believes that these are the people who can speak to me?
That is the weakness of the leadership, if that is your belief. If that is his belief.
To me.
If that is his belief.
Are the people competent enough? Are they qualified for the position?
Experience has shown that they are rather self-protective than speaking the truth. because you have a common interest. And so, like His Excellency President Kufuor counseled, they will not be coming out to tell you the truth. I don't believe that Professor Stephen Adair, for example, coming out to say that, well, I think that what the current president has done cannot be accepted. It's not acceptable at all. But what is even more, when he was criticizing 84 people as ministers and deputy ministers, we thought he was going to go below that. 110? Who has ever been able to control a mob? That is a mob government. And I'm not surprised that there is this phrase, I am not aware of it. You cannot be aware of it. How can you be aware of the actions of every member of a mob? 110 is completely unacceptable and must be condemned in no uncertain terms.
Is it not too early to do that? Allow them to do the term, and then you judge them based on their experience.
Oh, allow that mob to do the damage before you judge. 110. You have only 4 years. Don't forget that. You have only 4 years. I mean, was it even necessary? It gave an indication, and I've stated this before, that he's not in control. He was pushed into taking those decisions and appointments.
What makes you think so?
Clearly, knowing Nana and knowing who he is, what else would I have come to?
Knowing him, he wouldn't have.
He wouldn't on his own have done that. So what happened?
Who is pushing him?
Definitely, is a pressure from his party. Where else? It's a pressure from his party. And it first depends on how he conducted himself throughout as a leader of that group and what commitments he gave to them, you know, whatever agreements he entered with them. Are you not surprised that the president that will give the whole authority, the authority of the nation, will go before churches and plead with them to assist him to control his own boys, call invisible forces, Delta forces, who just yesterday convened a meeting at the Tamal Sports Stadium to declare that they, the leadership, have told the police to be aware that they are in existence and they should not touch them. I mean, can we continue this way as a country? Ghana is not safe now. There's no peace. And what Kofi Kumsin said some years ago is playing out. You understand? And His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo should sit up and take immediate action. Very important.
What do you reckon
we cannot all
could do? What do you reckon he could do that would save the situation as it is now?
You know something? All of us have fallen into the trap of glorifying them and calling them vigilantes. How? How can hoodlums, gangsters, be called vigilantes? How? Even they have cowed the court to the extent that you can go into the court and disrupt court proceedings and release your own and be fined 1,800, which they knew before they went to the court premises. Good God, God save us. God save us. His performance so far is worse than John Mahama. I'm telling you.
It's worse than John Mahama's performance.
Yes, I've just analyzed them, a few of them. And I really, I get sometimes too passionate that maybe people think I'm being emotional. But it's my nature. Sometimes they say I'm a hardliner. Well, we can't all be soft liners.
We'll talk about your emotions in a bit, but then if this were to be a John Mahama administration, you obviously would be advising. I would
have been on him.
What would you have said? What would you have told him, assuming he is John Mahama?
The number would have gone down dramatically. There was no way that we could sit down to allow His Excellency John Mahama to appoint 110 ministers. No, there's no way.
If he were to be advising
if he had done that,
now
we would have prevailed upon him to immediately clamp down on that number.
But what would be your advice to the president now?
And don't forget that when we lost elections in 2000, the Akufo administration came out loud and clear that they wanted to disseminate the NDC party. And they did a lot of actions to support that declaration. It was even stated on the floor of Parliament by the Honorable J.H. Mensah, most experienced member of Parliament, very wise man, but he did say that. And so it was implemented, and there was a lot of violence, okay? Visited on the victims of the elections, people who have lost, they are vanquished, and they visited a lot of violence.
How would you...
When we won in 2008, and Professor Mills became president, as much as he tried to control it, we experience a bit of it, not to the level that we experienced from now. 2001.
So what would be your advice
we
as to how to deal with it?
That after both parties have experienced this, we will be guided by the principle, do unto others as you want others to do unto you. And so, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, having assumed the highest office of the land, would have proceeded to implement that and to warn against violence, because they who are saying they are invisible or invincible, tomorrow will be visible and invincible, because they will no longer have the power.
He has mentioned a couple of times.
It's not rhetorics. You see, when you are seeking for the position like I'm doing, you talk. When you get the position, you act.
What should he do?
Action.
Like what? He's spoken. He said that stop doing this. He said the police should do its job. What else should he do? Every
day, the same members are coming out to tell the whole Ghanaian that this is where it's coming from. Even his own members come out to say that we are sponsoring them. He says, oh, please take action.
What would you have done if you were president in this under this circumstance?
Why? Why? What other evidence do you need?
What would you do?
They should have been behind the bars by now. If the IGP and the law enforcement agencies will not take action, they leave. They have no basis being there.
So you would have sacked the IGP?
Completely, immediately. If I say take action, and I sit and see the lawlessness going on, and you are not taking action, you have no business being there as IGP. No. It cannot. It's my duty to protect my appointees and to make sure they implement what the people say they want.
So if you're an advisor today, you'd advise President Akufo-Addo to sack the IGP now?
Only that. Go beyond that. Go beyond that. You see, we should start cracking the whip.
Okay.
Yes, we should.
Are those the only things that disappoint you in this government?
Oh, there are many, many things that disappoint me. There are some good moves he has actually made. But in terms of disappointment, to be frank, these are some of the key ones.
Okay.
Okay? There are others that I think he's jumping the gun. There's nobody in this country that doesn't support free education, okay? From crèche to the university level, we all support it. It's whether it's feasible, can we implement it? And how do we do it? How do we implement it? And so nobody's against the policy of free senior high school. That has been the vision of all Ghanaians, and that is clearly stated in the Constitution. But how do you implement it? Clearly, we agreed in the Constitution that it should be done progressively. It is stated there, okay? And so when you come out and say, no, I'm not going to do that, I want to do it free for all, with immediate effect. First, if really that's what you committed to doing, then you have to do an amendment to the Constitution. Okay? Because what is the legal basis for doing that?
So you're saying that the free SHS lacks any legal basis?
No, it lacks, clearly. Because it says it should be progressively done. But in truth...
But this is, you could describe this as a progressive
This one
system.
is progressive. Okay?
Okay.
Started from only the first year. It's not the 3 years. So to start with, it's progressive.
But it's also one of the most popular
that is the
policies.
serious challenges we have in politics in Ghana. Can the followers trust the leaders? Can we have to. You see, if you have a leader that you don't trust, my sister, where will your heart be? Will it be with the leader? Where will your energies be committed? Committed to support the leader? And I think as politicians, we must do everything possible to recapture the trust and confidence of the people who we lead.
Okay.
I think one of the things that this government is doing very, very wrong is the peddling of so much falsehood. Okay?
For example?
Well, I just cited the senior high school.
Okay.
2, you just recently observed the catch for seats. 3, you know what my good friend Akufo-Addo is doing at the Ministry of Finance, 2.5 billion Ken bond. There are so many things that are happening that they are not telling Ghanaians the truth. You know? And I think that our politics is degenerating. And we need to do something and do it quickly as a group of people in a country called Ghana.
What are the good things that the NPP administration has done or achieved?
One, you know, when Professor Mills led us, growth rate was averaging around 8% annually. JM, who took over, took it down. The last year was around 3.9. It's been on the decline. Since the NPP came, they have been able to up it, okay? And there are prospects that they will improve upon it. It is true that they are able to do that partly because of some solid foundation in some areas that the former President JM put in place. There's no doubt about that. But those foundations were also put in place by our late President, Professor Mills. You understand?
Okay.
And so how come that it declined to that level? Again, that I think is a good thing to do, but they should try and balance it against the constriction of the economy. Because you need to expand the economy. You need to invest a lot. But what my friend Akufo-Addo is doing is running our economy like a private business. Okay, and is looking at the outturn in terms of profits, not cash, but in terms of profits in other areas. I believe that this is the time for us to invest more, to expand the economy, to be able to create employment. And I have personally met him and told him that I disagree with your policy on banking. Just suddenly upping the minimum capital from 120 million to 400 million is uncalled for. His response to me was that there are too many banks in the country. I said, you are right. 34 banks in a small economy like Ghana. You are right. But you don't just suddenly clamp that down with a vision of reducing them from 34 to 14 within a matter of 2 years.
Okay.
You have to do it gradually. Life is about evolution. Life is not about revolution.
Okay.
Understand? And so what you've done, apart from doing that, you're not paying the arrears. A lot of contractors went to the same banks, credited money, invested in infrastructure. Okay? The former regime could not pay. You have taken over. You're not also paying And yet, you are calling on the same banks to increase their minimum capital from 120 to 400 million. What you're simply doing, you are inviting foreign capture of our banking sector. And in so doing, foreign capture of our economy. So all what we produce will be expatriated abroad because they will be in control of your banking sector and your economy.
Okay.
I did not hide that from him. He did tell me that he was going for that bond and that he'll be able to pay. Well, it didn't work all out. And so you still have huge arrears that are still outstanding.
Okay.
And that's a serious challenge. But in all that, you see the attempt by the MPP to rely on the private sector. Why not? The private sector is the engine of growth.
So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Okay.
But, you know, they have made statements that have taken away the value or credibility of that policy. One village, one dam. One district, one factory. They are not feasible. You need to say that you're going to do this number of factories that people know that with the size of our economy and with what we have is achievable.
Okay.
Okay.
If you were to
what he's doing are not achievable, but he's giving hope. He's giving hope to Ghanaians.
Okay.
Okay.
On a scale of 100%, where would you put the NPP?
Well, they need to work hard. I'm a tough marker, and I will definitely now put them around between 40–45%.
Yes. 40–45.
Yes.
That's not a pass, actually.
Yes, they haven't passed. Actually, you can see even the initial survey by the Political Science Department.
University of Ghana.
Yes, have shown that there's a decline. They've moved down from 53% to 52%.
They're still very popular. They're still at an approval rate of about 62%.
I said it's decline. You understand?
It's still 62 is still a pass.
Yes, that's a pass. Yes, it meant that they sealed some hope as of last year. But don't also forget, we're not told when they collected the data.
It was in December, between 9th. They said 9th and the 20th of December.
Oh, that's too short a period to collect data.
It's about 11 days.
That's too short a period to collect data. And, you know, I'm a politician. Why this timing? Why is it released now?
Why not?
Yeah, because they are under pressure.
You think the political scientists are under pressure?
No.
The NPP is under pressure.
You think they are impartial observers?
You don't think
Those
so?
who... Oh, my sister, I beg you. You know the personalities involved. And you know who...
Tell me about...
Who is the sponsor of that research?
Conrad, is this German organization? I can't just recollect the name.
No. The German...
Conrad Adenauer Foundation.
Yeah, they just don't sit down and then get up and say, we're going to fund this survey.
What do you think has happened, really?
Proposals have been made. This definitely is coming from Dankwa Institute.
You think so?
Yes.
Any evidence to that effect?
Why? What do you need?
You tell me.
Just go inside. You are a journalist. Go and ask them.
When I asked
and see
them,
how the proposals...
When I asked them, they said it was fully funded by this German organization, and they were not
That's the source of funding, okay? But you have put before them
proposal for them to sponsor you to do it.
Now, there would have been somebody asking you to put up these proposals. I don't think they just did it for the purposes of the department, is it?
What do you think?
They did it for the purpose of governance. Who is governing? Why is the person trying to get a scientific survey of his performance or the government performance and the others?
So
now,
what are you
look at
saying,
it, not just looking at the sample size, look at the composition of the sample. You look at it seriously. Go into the details.
They said 18 constituencies.
The devil is in the detail, you know.
Yes, 18 constituencies. They say 18 constituencies of areas that are originally NDC or traditionally vote NDC. 14 constituencies of areas that traditionally vote NPP. and 3, I've forgotten the expression for it, but 3 are like you have to win those constituencies, and I think 5 of swing constituencies. They broke it down to me. Yes.
So you know the actual constituencies?
We didn't have enough time to go into that.
Yes. So if you go to Upper West, which is a traditional NDC region, and then now we lost 5, okay? And you go to some of the 5 and interview them. Do you think that they will give NDC a plus?
So you basically think that this was...
Go into the details.
This is the entire deal, the working of the NPP to find out information for themselves.
You don't need to doubt that. You don't need to doubt that. And I'm saying that the first issue I raised was the timing. Why did they bring it this time?
You say
because they're under pressure. It's just trying to divert you people. Stop the bashing on MPP on these areas. Now focus on this. And they have basically succeeded.
If
I've worked with Ochidako, is my good friend, and
but if
I know him very well.
If political scientists come together with a report like this, you look at the methodology. If it makes sense, the methodology is right, you accept the result. That's a logical thing to do, wouldn't you say?
You see, throughout the rule of Kwame Nkrumah, he never broke the law. It was the law that he used throughout. You understand? And so that is no argument.
But then there's nothing wrong with it.
You can always use science, you can always use the law to justify whatever you're doing. But at the end of the day, how would that work to improve the quality of living of the Ghanaian?
They also looked at other areas about the issues about the economy, what Ghanaians think about the economy, unemployment, about education. So these are to help the government. That's if, you know, to help the government.
You see, one of the things we're not doing as a country, we're not being able to educate and conscientize Ghanaians as to many of these things you call, in fact, they are concepts.
Okay.
We've not been able.
Okay.
And so sometimes when you go out there, you want to measure corruption. It differs from person to person. In fact, many people don't even think that nepotism is corruption, but it is.
Okay. Unfortunately,
and people think about corruption in terms of money.
Right.
Not.
Okay.
We have corrupted our values and principles.
As a people.
As a people.
Let's get to Parliament. We've run out of time. We'll have to really get through this quickly. You've been there 25 years. That's a long time. What do you make of the performance of Parliament so far?
Well, it's been up and down. The first Parliament did very well, and I keep on referring to it as the sacrificial lambs. They had no conditions of service. They didn't ask for it. They just worked and make sure that they satisfied the constitutional dictates. You know, we're asked to pass some key laws within 6 months under the leadership of the first president, and particularly Dr. Obed Asamoah as the Minister for Justice. We achieved that, and with the leadership of the 2 members who had had some parliamentary experience in the Third Republic, the late J.H. Osua Champon and the late Welbeck Norte, were able to do that, and we did that successfully. But I give the commendation to the Speaker, Justice D.F. Annan, who really led us successfully. So the first Parliament started very well, in spite of all what people said about the first Parliament. If you look at a research paper written by Professor Ning Singh, that Parliament is rated very, very high.
The second?
The second Parliament and the third Parliament could be seen as, I think, if you talk about democratic discourse, as the best. When the MPP came there, having lost out for 4 years and trying to prove to people that what they were saying is true, they are the best and not the NDC, a lot of debate went on.
The fourth?
But because the former Speaker, the late Justice D.F. Annan, used to give ample space for people to debate. Okay? The fourth, yes, I, as opposition leader, and looking at the pusher and the activism of the Akufo administration, had to take them on. And it was really very hot. very, very hot parliament, and very good debates, well organized, and you can go through the Hansard, and really researchers have given those two parliaments very high marks. Then after 2004, in 2005, things changed. Things changed because His Excellency Akufo was again to the end of his tenure. He will not have any opportunity, and so his focus was to look at any other areas. Again, because of the high tempo of the former parliament, there were so many concerns raised by very key leaders of the country as to the tempo of the parliament, and were being called upon to take note about the security situation in the country, and also to try to consolidate some of the earlier gains. Then we started having challenges with the constitutional provisions, and so the discourse changed as to relook at the legal framework of the multi-party constitutional democracy.
Right.
It's not just multi-party democracy like the UK, but it's constitutional democracy, where there is the supremacy of the rule of law is sovereign, unlike in the UK, where it is Parliament that is sovereign.
Do you agree that people seem to have lost confidence in Parliament with recent happenings, or perhaps what has happened?
It's not only in Parliament, in politicians. And Parliament is part of that, in politicians. But it's not only in Ghana too, it's global. I don't know which country I've been to and heard anybody praising their Parliament or their members of Parliament. Because you see, we don't even understand who is a member of Parliament and what is he supposed to do. We don't even understand that.
For those who
People see members of Parliament as an individual. It's not true. It's an office. You understand? Even during the Liman regime, each member of Parliament had an official secretary who was paid for by the state, and an official driver paid for by the state. This Parliament,
for those who know,
since the Fourth Republic, there's nothing like that. It's the individual who is now Father Christmas. And there's no way that you can satisfy the people.
Well, for those who know, who think that we're paying our parliamentarians enough, they think that you've passed some really bad laws. Very recent ones, we could say, the TV license thing, for example, that attracted a serious public uproar. We also look at the road traffic regulations that this year attracted a lot of disaffection from the public.
Earlier on, I referred to issues of policies and polity. Policies and polity. And therefore, the policies emanate from the polity, the people. Okay? And you put some legal and institutional framework in place. It passes through the executive. There are a lot of discussions. Then they form the policies. And they want enforcement. And so they want the sanction of law. And so they process it through Parliament. And that's why when they come to Parliament, we publish it and invite the public to appear before us to say, yes, this is actually what we said to the executive that we wanted, and they have captured it properly. Oh no, this is not what we told them, and it has not been properly captured.
What were your initial opinion about the TV license?
Let me finish with that, because it's very important for Ghanaians to understand how these things work.
Okay.
And so we always expect Ghanaians to appear before the committees and disagree with what has been presented to us, or agree with it. And so when Ghanaians appear and say, yes, this is what we want, then we have no option than to use our wisdom and refine it and pass it.
But you can't have all Ghanaians appearing before.
No, you cannot have, because that's why you have, this is a representative government. And so you have representatives. That is why in the media, we don't expect all of you to appear before us. You have leadership. And before the leadership appeared before us, they would have met you to take on board your views. So it is in all the sectors. And so when they appear before us and say, yes, that's what we want, so and we pass that, you cannot now blame us for passing bad
So
laws.
the recent ones have been what happened at the...
It's not only the TV license.
And the TV license.
Even the toll levy.
Yes.
Yes, the toll levy.
So
You go through all the memos, the research, and the discussions and the workshops on the toll levy before it came to Parliament. And Parliament passed it. And this is what happened.
Did you think those were supposed to be passed? Did you think they were in the good interest of the people?
Listen, the issue that should have been raised about the toll levy is the quantum. But you know, there are some things that an individual cannot provide. And you need the group or the collective to be able to provide those things. Okay? That's why we come together. That's why we form governments. And so some of the areas when they are identified, and you are now referring back to the individual, then you're not going to succeed in its implementation. And one of them is housing, for example. Even in the rural communities, if you want to build a house, you were supported to do so. Now we are asking individuals to build their own houses. It won't work. And so, please, I think that we need to strengthen civil society, because if they are able to reach out to the people, they will get the feel, the aspirations, and the hopes of the people to bring forward. We also need to strengthen parliaments. This parliament that we've established is in the belly of the executive. And we've been talking about it for so many years now. And so the call for us to amend, not just amend, revise or review the Constitution is a right call.
Okay. Now that we're finished doing with hard business, I'm going to wrap up this conversation, but I don't want to do that without asking you how you relax. How do you relax?
Oh, it's a very difficult question, but I try to see.
Why is it a difficult question? How you relax?
I'm always working.
That's the most relaxing question.
I'm always working.
Really?
And
so you don't relax?
I've had problems, you know, with people. They've always said that, no, take your time, please take a rest, go and rest, do this. Well, most of the time I leave here very late, very, very late.
So your life is all about work?
Well, unfortunately, that's how I was brought up.
Oh, how do you manage the people you love? How do you manage your love life?
That's a good question.
I know it's a good question.
I don't know whether I'm managing well, but I don't think that the responses don't show that I'm managing well there. But
the responses show that you're not doing well. Oh dear.
The responses don't show I'm managing well there.
So on a scale of 100%, you put yourself at 20.
I accept my weaknesses, and I know I'm a sinner. I'm not an angel, and as a human being, I have my pluses and minuses. So that area, I think, I've been told many times I need to back up and wake up to the realities. But unfortunately, the way I was brought up with only work, I just got committed to doing that. And since 2001, my colleagues will attest to that, by 7 a.m. in the morning, I was always in the office until December 2016.
And you leave at what time?
And leave between 10, 11 p.m. That's how I worked throughout for that period, just in the service of Mother Ghana. I think that we have achieved a lot. And during the Akufo regime, they offered to crown me with a national award, which
you have not answered my question.
Partisan consideration came in, and I declined it. My own people came for 8 years. They didn't see the need to crown me with that national award. But civil society, private sector saw the need, and I've been given a number of awards. Okay,
so yes, you received a number of awards for your hard work, and of course, nobody can de-emphasize your role in Ghana's politics. How do you relax? Do you like music? What kind of music do you like?
When I was young, yes. I used to go dancing. I used to love music.
Club?
Yeah, at those days they were called discos. They were not called clubs. And I remember the first one, Funky Town Disco. I was a member, registered member, paid up member, usually paying advance for a year. It was at Jolu, and I used to be there dancing.
You should show us some dance moves before we go, though.
I'm very good at that one, but recently I've been so focused on politics that I don't have time for music. I don't even have time for documentaries
Oh, wow.
I'm listening to news or watching the passion of the nation, which is football, and that's what I do. But I enjoy good music, particularly the beats, not much of the words, because these days the words don't mean much. You know, they just make sounds and that kind of thing.
Tell us the music that at least you remember, or I mean the recent one, the old ones, whichever. Any names? Any names that come out readily? Yeah.
Names. You know,
you
when we started, we loved Bob Marley and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so we used to dance it very well. Later on, when Iron Boy came, his music definitely is international. It's fine, cool music, very nice, meaningful.
Yeah.
So everybody, you know, because of I'm told the language, you know, what he says, people like dancing it, particularly ladies. You see, later on we came to the what we call it, the current musicians, and they are doing well. Particularly the beats are very good, and they electrify the youth.
Any names?
You may know. Well, Shaka Wale is there. I used to dance A+ very well. Samini is well noted. I know there's a recent discovery. These ladies, I used to like the Tigo Sisters gospel music.
Okay.
Okay, and I think they are still on.
Yeah, they are.
And we had a lot together some time ago. Yes, we used to.
Can you sing a line of Bob Marley?
Wow.
You used to dance to.
Eh?
Yeah, go ahead. Make us happy. Go ahead and make us happy.
No.
Bob Marley. No, people love Bob Marley, really. You have no idea how many votes that's going to fetch you.
Because I'm able to sing Bob Marley.
Oh, yes, I tell you.
Oh, why?
Well, people
He's no
love
more.
Of course not, but people love him. People love his music.
When he sang Exodus at the country now called Zimbabwe, it assisted in the African freedom fight.
That's your favorite?
It was one of them.
Okay.
Exodus, movement of the people. You know, that song.
You can sing along.
You know, I'm a very, you know, I believe a lot in the African agenda. And so I got glued to it, and they danced it, and then we're fired up. And when I got to Zimbabwe, leading an international delegation of members of parliament from France, US, Britain, South Africa, Nigeria, I was their leader, went to intervene in the governance of Mugabe, and they tried to tell him, I remember some of the strong words I issued there, that, look, nobody can prevent change. It's a constant. Will happen.
Right.
Okay? Right. And when you attempt to prevent it, it comes with a force, and it's destructive. And so you should allow change.
You allow change.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, you know what happened, and he was booted out? You don't forget about the long hand of the bully boy called America. His last visit to America, you recall what he said about Donald Trump, and you recall the attempt at arresting him and what his guards did to the person, and you think they will sit still and allow that humiliation. And so they managed to work through so many things. There are subterfuge and this and that.
I see a very competent. I see a very competent manner, the very competent manner in which you try to bring me back to hard news when I'm trying to get you to be soft.
Sorry. I apologize.
But I'm wrapping up the conversation by asking one question that, you know, since you want to be president, one of the things that will come up that people will be out there in the public domain, which will be your love life, you know.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about it. I mean, years back we had very interesting stories.
You know, unfortunately or unfortunately, I was a bookworm. And so I got my first girlfriend when I was in Legon. In fact, second year Legon. The first year I chewed on, you know, as they used to say. So I was ponded for chewing on.
Okay.
Okay, and so I moved out. And I got somebody from outside. So some of my friends used to call me Exte.
Yeah.
And I called them Inte because that is where I started. Okay. Well, I ended up marrying her as my wife. And so I've not been good in whatever this thing you people call romance or courtship or this thing, unfortunately.
So you just loved her, you married her, that's it?
I love her, I married her, and we're moving on, we are still together. But you see, because I see ladies, I mean, they are admirable, beautiful ladies like you, but I see them as equal partners. And I try to treat ladies on the same level as I treat the gentlemen. The fact that I can hold a gentleman, I can invite a gentleman, I can go out with a gentleman, I don't see why I should not do the same with a lady. That doesn't necessarily mean when I'm doing it for the lady, I have an intention of going beyond.
It's usually misconstrued, right?
Yes, it's just what the guys say, just friend keke. You know, but generally the public perception is that when you are with a lady, you're going beyond the red line. Okay. You understand? And so I have had a lot of problems with that. But knowing the position of the law too on some issues, I don't usually want to rather jeopardize the interests of the other partner. And also the interests of whatever issue. And so I recall people were asking me some years ago about my relationship with my sister-in-law. Yeah. And I came out because I know the position of the law on that. And I spoke. And I think that is gone on well. That I don't believe.
Was there a relationship with your sister-in-law?
There was no that relationship.
Not sexual relationship?
There was a proposal.
Okay.
Okay. And I did state that it didn't work out. Okay. But that was as far back as 89, 90. Okay. Long before I joined politics. Okay. This is the early days of my youthful life. But people will want to use that, and I have no qualms of it because I will tell you what went on, and what it is, and what is the truth. Whether you believe that or not, that is your problem. Because one of the things I'm committed to and I believe is that even if I sin, I should not sin twice by lying. Because my maker knows that this is what I actually did. And so it's better to say it, okay? Because if you don't confess and repent, you cannot be forgiven. True. You understand? And so you have to confess it.
So you confess your sins of proposing to your sister-in-law, but even though it didn't work. Is that it? Oh, that's not it. Okay, I guess I got it wrong.
It's part of the perception.
I guess I got it wrong.
You know, I never proposed. No, I never proposed. But it was a family issue, you see. Okay. And it did hurt a lot of people. You know, when you discuss these things, it's not just me. You know, it affects people and it hurts the people. If it's left to me alone, I know what to say, I know what to do. Okay. But it's usually a lot of other friends and family members are involved. So polygamy? I don't like to do that. Well, polygamy is not just cultural, it's a belief thing. And in my society, we believe in it. Okay. I believe in polygamy.
So you believe in polygamy?
We believe in, and I believe in polygamy. Okay. And it's something that has the positives and the negatives. And truly in the Bible, and I believe in the Holy Quran, they stated what you reap when you become a polygamist. You know, to start with, it's almost impossible for you to be truthful to your partners. You understand? Almost impossible. And so you have to suffer it. And anybody who says polygamists enjoy is not being truthful. You cannot. It's not possible. And so those who are not yet polygamists, don't attempt.
You're advising them?
Yes,
okay.
you really suffer when you become a polygamist.
What are your thoughts on homosexuality?
Completely unnatural. It's bestiality. I'm totally against it.
The homosexuality is different from bestiality, isn't it?
Come on. What's the difference?
It's a human being. You're talking about an animal in bestiality.
Well, even the animals are better. Because I scarcely see males, animals going for each other.
Why are you completely against homosexuality?
It's unnatural.
Because
it's against the family system. I mean, how did they come into being? Those practicing it, how did they come into existence?
Some say they were born that way.
By who? By a man to a man? A woman to a woman? Is that what happened and they came into being? Come on, please.
What do you make of President Akufo-Addo's response in that Al Jazeera interview that the court
it was catastrophic. And we are reaping the results.
What's the result?
It's an encouragement to that group of people to go out there and make it happen. I don't think it is wrong.
Why are you so afraid? People have said that if someone is homosexual, he's practicing, yes, he's doing something with himself.
I beg you, I don't want the world to end. I want the world to continue. And the world cannot continue to exist when there is no procreation. People don't produce children. Okay? As we sit today, Europe in the next century will be extinct because the, how will I put it, the fertility rate is 1.3. Averagely in Europe, 1.3. In fact, some have declined to 1.1. You can't recover from that level. It means within a short time, there will be no more.
What about the violent attacks?
Let me end. That is a different thing altogether. Let me end with this. In the next century, the world will be a Muslim world. You understand? The world will be a Muslim world. Mark it. In the next century. In fact, in Europe, in France, in the next less than 50 years, the French country will be a Muslim country.
Let's talk about. Let's come back to homosexuality now, in Ghana. Yesterday, I spoke to a group of people. Two of them. They call it's a group calling itself LGBT Speakers Bureau. Yes, and they say that they are campaigning against violent attacks on persons who are either homosexual or exhibit signs that they could be.
I totally support that. I totally support that. There is no need for us to attack them physically, violently, to try to exterminate them, kill them. No. Right. We have to put a system in place to get them out of it. You understand?
Okay.
Where you don't just shoot and kill a robber. No. There are processes you go through. In fact, the International Human Rights Court at Hague has ruled against this group. That there's no human rights there. That is a human rights issue. Okay? The International Human Rights Court.
Okay.
Of about how many judges? Quite a large number of judges. And they were unanimous in their ruling. And so it is something that we should prevent. But those that are already caught in it, please, don't attack them. Don't physically assault them. Don't hurt them. Let's put a system in place to try and, I must say, save their lives.
Okay. Okay. I think we'll end our conversation here. It's been a very interesting, enlightening conversation, just so you know. Well, even though some of the members in the party or party executives think that some of these things amount to subtle campaigning, and that it doesn't augur well for the party. The Honourable Member of Parliament for Nadoli Kaliu thinks that, well, we're making our bid and our competencies known to the people, and so there's nothing wrong with that. Sir, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the best. We'll be here to see how it goes for you.
I thank you too for this opportunity.
I
want to assure Ghanaians that it's just an offer to lead the country.
Okay.
I am not obsessed with it. I don't want one day to be blamed for not coming forward. And I believe that Ghanaians have invested a lot in me, and I can improve on the governance of this country to the betterment of all of us. That is why I'm doing so.
Okay. My name is Gifty Andwapia. Many thanks for your time.